Welcome everyone. This is not just another motivational video. This is not about tricks, tips, or quick hacks. This is a mirror. A mirror that will force you to look at yourself and face the brutal truth you've been avoiding your whole life. Today we're going to talk about something that hurts, but the kind of pain that wakes you up. We're going to talk about why only 1% of people succeed, and why the rest stay stuck in a loop of mediocrity, excuses, regret, and wasted potential. This video is not designed to make you feel good. It's designed to shake you, to challenge the soft version of you, to push you into a war, not with society, not with your parents, not with the world, but a war between you and you. Because let's be honest, you say you want success. You say you want freedom. You say you want to be different. But day after day, you live like everyone else. You do what's easy. You quit when it's hard. You seek comfort. You hide from pressure. You talk about change, but never truly commit to it. And here's the truth that no one will tell you. You will never change your life until you change who you are. And that change, that transformation, doesn't begin with reading quotes. It doesn't begin with watching reels or feeling inspired for 5 minutes. It begins when you face the raw, real, painful truths about yourself and the world. In this video, I'm going to show you 10 brutal, honest, and life-altering truths about why only 1% of people ever make it. Why only 1% rise to the top. Why only 1% create impact. Why only 1% break free from the cycle. And why 99% of people stay broke, average, bitter, insecure, confused, and directionless until the day they die. And listen closely. These truths are not sugar-coated. They are not pretty. They are not designed to go easy on you. They are designed to wake up the strongest, most disciplined, most relentless version of you. Because that version is still inside you. It's just been buried under laziness, fear, scrolling, excuses, and weakness. Today, we're going to dig it out, no matter what it takes. So if you're ready for the most powerful mindset shift of your life, if you're ready to leave the 99% behind, if you're ready to finally become the person you were born to be, then stay with me. Because this is the moment where everything changes. And by the way, this video isn't just about success. It's also helping you improve your English. Because you're learning how to listen deeply, how to understand real-life words, how to feel the meaning, not just memorize it. So if you watch this till the end, you're not just building your mindset, you're building your language too. Now let's begin. Truth 1. Because 99% choose comfort over growth. Let's get something very clear. Success is not about talent, it's about tolerance. Tolerance for discomfort. Tolerance for boredom. Tolerance for discipline. Tolerance for pain. But most people, the 99%, don't want to tolerate anything hard. They want a life that feels good, not one that is good. So what do? They hit snooze when it's cold. They scroll when they're anxious. They eat when they're sad. They avoid difficult conversations. They chase short-term pleasure instead of long-term greatness. They say things like, "I'm too tired. I deserve a break. I'll do it later." But later becomes never, and one day becomes no day. The truth? Comfort feels good in the moment, but it steals your future. Think about it. You want to be financially free, but you keep spending money on things you don't need. You want to get fit, but you skip your workouts every week. You want to be fluent in English, but you're afraid to practice speaking. You want to grow, but you refuse to leave what's familiar. That's comfort. And comfort is a trap, because the more you feed it, the weaker you become. And the weaker you become, the harder life gets. And the harder life gets, the more you escape back into comfort. It's a cycle, a slow, quiet death. You're alive, but you're not living. But the 1%? They're different. They choose growth, even when it hurts. They train when they're tired. They study when they're broke. They keep going when nothing is working. They understand that success doesn't feel comfortable. It feels like loneliness. It feels like pressure. It feels like doubt. It feels like everything inside you screaming to quit. But they don't quit, because they know pain is the tuition of transformation. Imagine two people. Person A wants to build a business. They watch videos, read posts, daydream. But every time it gets hard, every time there's a risk or challenge, they stop. They go back to scrolling. They go back to comfort. Person B also wants to build a business, but they know it's going to hurt. They know it's going to take months of silence, rejection, trial, error, doubt, fear. But they keep showing up. They sleep late, wake early, eat cheap, get rejected, but keep going. 5 years later, person A is still stuck, still watching, still scrolling. Person B, financially free, mentally strong, and respected by the world. Why? Not because of intelligence, not because of luck, but because of one thing. One chose comfort, the other chose growth. You must decide, right now. Do you want your life to feel easy? Or do you want your life to be legendary? Because you can't have both. Truth 2. Because the 99% wait for motivation. But the 1% build discipline. This is one of the greatest lies in the world. I'll do it when I feel motivated. I'm waiting for the right time. I just don't feel like it right now. That's the language of the 99%. That's the lie that keeps people poor, unhealthy, invisible, and bitter. Motivation is a feeling. It comes and goes like weather. You can't trust it. You can't rely on it. You can't build anything great on it. Because let me ask you this. What happens on the days when motivation doesn't show up? What happens when you wake up tired, sad, hopeless, or lost? What happens when you don't feel like it? Do you pause your dreams? Do you delay your goals? Do you go back to comfort? Again, that's what 99% of people do. They start something with fire, but stop when the fire fades. They write the first page, but never finish the book. They join the gym, but stop showing up. They plan the business, but never launch it, because they thought motivation would carry them. But it didn't. Because it never does. The truth is, success does not care how you feel. Your dream does not care about your mood. Discipline is the only thing that will save you when motivation disappears. And that's what the 1% understand. They don't depend on feelings. They depend on decisions. Imagine it's 5 a.m., it's dark, it's cold, you're tired, you didn't sleep well. You set an alarm to work out, study, or work on your dream. Now the 99% voice inside you says, you can do it later. One day won't hurt. You deserve to rest. So they roll over and sleep. But the 1%? They feel the same pain. But they do it anyway. They know the pain of staying the same is far worse than the pain of waking up. They put their shoes on, they turn on the light, they start moving. Not because they feel like it, but because they promised themselves they would. That's discipline. And the crazy part, once they start, they feel powerful. Because there is no better feeling than winning a battle against your weaker self. Discipline is the greatest form of self-respect. It's waking up and saying, I may not control the world, but I will control myself today. I may be scared, but I will show up. I may be tired, but I will do what I said I would do. You want to be in the 1%? Then stop waiting to feel ready. Stop needing to feel inspired. Stop chasing emotions. Build habits. Build structure. Build warlike consistency. Because that's what discipline really is. Showing up when no one's watching. Doing the hard thing when the easy path is calling. Being your own coach, your own parent, your own soldier. And you don't need to be special to build it. You just need to stop negotiating with yourself every morning. The more you listen to your feelings, the more they will own you. But the more you practice discipline, the more you own your life. Truth 3. Because the 99% talk more than they act. This one will hurt. But it needs to. Because one of the biggest signs you're not serious about your dream is how much you talk about it. The 99% are full of plans. I'm thinking of starting something. I might move to a new city. One day I'll write a book. Soon I'll get serious about my health. But soon never comes. Because talking gives them a false feeling of progress. It makes them feel like they've already done something, even though they haven't moved an inch. The 1% don't talk much. They don't post about it. They don't tell everyone. They don't wait for applause. They move in silence. They work behind the scenes. They let results speak. They take action before they say anything. They are not performers. They are builders. Imagine two people in a race. Person A is at the starting line. He's telling everyone, I've been preparing for this forever. I've got the best shoes. I've visualized the win. I know I'm going to dominate this. Person B says nothing. He doesn't smile. He doesn't flex. He just starts running. Who do you bet on? Person B? Always. Because the ones who are truly focused don't need to impress. They just do the work. Real winners don't need to announce. Their life becomes the announcement. If you've been stuck for months, ask yourself, are you taking bold action every day? Or are you trapped in the illusion of movement? Because most people confuse motion with progress. They confuse talking with doing. They confuse planning with execution. Don't be one of them. Stop telling people what you're going to do. Start doing it so loudly that you never have to explain it. You don't need more plans. You need more movement. You don't need motivation. You need warlike discipline. You don't need applause. You need obsession. You don't need to feel ready. You need to feel responsible. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be relentless. Truth 4. Because the 99% fear judgment, but the 1% fear regret. Let's be honest. Most people don't live their own life. They live a version of life that's edited by fear. Fear of what people will think. Fear of being laughed at. Fear of being judged, misunderstood, rejected. They are prisoners, not of war, but of opinion. They wear masks to be accepted. They shrink to avoid criticism. They hide their dreams to fit in with people who don't even know their own purpose. And they call it playing it safe. But in reality, it's a slow suicide. Let me tell you something that the 1% know. Regret is the most painful judgment of all. It is the voice that speaks to you at 2 a.m. and says, you could have done more. You should have tried. Why did you let fear make your decisions? Why did you stay small when greatness was calling you? The 1% are not fearless. They just fear the right thing. They don't fear embarrassment. They don't fear looking stupid. They don't fear losing. They fear waking up 10 years from now, in the same place, with the same excuses, and no time left to change. There's a young woman with a dream of becoming a singer. She sings in her room, she has talent, she writes songs, but she's terrified of putting herself online. What if people hate my voice? What if they make fun of me? What if no one listens? So she waits. 1 month, 6 months, 2 years, 5 years. She watches others rise. She tells herself, maybe I'll start next year. But deep inside she knows she's just scared of judgment. 10 years later, she sees someone else become successful with the same kind of voice. And she whispers to herself the most painful words in the world. That could have been me. This is not a story. This is real life. Happening to millions every day. You're not too old. You're not too late. But every time you let judgment control your actions, you fall further from the life you were born to live. The 1% don't silence their dreams to keep others comfortable. They're too busy building a life that no one understands, until it's done. So stop asking, what if they laugh at me? And start asking, what if I die with my dream still inside me? Because that fear, that regret, that's the pain you never recover from. The pain of knowing you had the voice, the gift, the fire, but you let strangers steal it. You let doubt silence it. You let fear kill it. You can either be misunderstood for a few years or be invisible forever. You can either be judged for becoming more or be forgotten for staying the same. Truth 5. Because the 99% are controlled by their mind, but the 1% control it. This one is deeper and darker, because this is where the real war begins. In your own mind. Most people think they are thinking, but the truth is, their mind is thinking them. They wake up and their thoughts immediately say, you're tired. You're not good enough. No one will listen to you. What if you fail? You're already too late. And they believe every single one of them. They never question their own voice. They live inside a mental prison, where their thoughts are the guards, and their potential is the prisoner. They think too much. They doubt too much. They overanalyze every step. They make small problems feel massive. And because of this overthinking, they become paralyzed. They never move. They never start. They never finish. They never change. But the 1%? They don't listen to every thought. They train their mind like a warrior trains a weapon. They challenge the fear. They question the doubt. They override the negativity. They replace weak thoughts with strong ones. Every day. They don't live by default. They live by design. They understand this one rule. Your mind is either your greatest weapon or your most dangerous enemy. Think about a person standing at the edge of a diving board. They want to jump. They know the water is safe. They've seen others do it. What if I hit my head? What if I drown? What if everyone laughs? So they freeze. They stand there. They walk away. Now multiply that moment by 1,000. And that's how most people live their entire life. Stuck. Not because of reality, but because of imagined fears in their head. They are drowning in a pool they never jumped into. But the 1%? They still feel the fear, but they jump anyway. Because they know the truth. If you don't command your mind, it will command you. And it will destroy you. So how do you train your mind like the 1%? You observe your thoughts, but don't believe everyone. You write down your negative patterns. You practice speaking power into your life every single day. You fill your mind with truth, not noise. You stop feeding it fear, distraction, and comparison. And you start feeding it discipline, peace, and clarity. Your thoughts are not facts. Your fears are not real. Your limits are not final. They are only powerful if you keep repeating them. Final truth for this one. Most people will never lose to the world. They will lose to themselves. And that's the most painful loss of all. Because you can't escape your own mind. It follows you everywhere. So you better make it your strongest ally, or it will become your worst enemy. Truth 6. Because the 99% want quick results. But the 1% are married to the process. This is one of the most painful reasons people never succeed. They want success to be fast. They want the rewards. But they hate the process. They want the muscle without lifting the weight. They want the business without the late nights. They want the dream without the discipline. And so, when it takes time, when it's slow, when it doesn't give instant results, they give up. That's why the 99% fail. Because they want a microwave life, not a masterpiece life. But the 1%? They have a completely different mindset. They're not in it for the next 30 days. They're in it for the next 30 years. They don't chase speed. They chase mastery. They know greatness takes time. They know growth is slow. They know progress is invisible before it becomes unstoppable. Think about bamboo. When you plant bamboo, it shows no visible growth for the first 3, 4, even 5 years. People think it's dead. They laugh. They say, "What a waste of time." But what they don't see, every single day that bamboo is growing underground, building strong roots deep and wide. Then suddenly, in year 5, it explodes upward, growing 60 feet in a matter of weeks. Now tell me, did it grow in weeks, or was it preparing for years? That's the same with your goals. If you quit in year 1 or month 3 or week 6, you will never see the explosion. You will never experience the reward, because you walked away before the roots were strong enough to hold the success. Most people quit because they don't see the result. The 1% succeed because they fall in love with the work. They don't chase the feeling of arrival. They live inside the feeling of becoming. They work in silence. They repeat boring habits. They stay consistent when no one's watching. Because they know this secret. The process is not what you go through to reach success. The process is the success. If you're watching this and feeling stuck, remember this. You're not behind. You're just early in the process. But if you quit now, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering how far you could have gone. So don't chase fast, chase forever, chase deep, chase solid, chase mastery. And when the world sees you rise years later, they'll call it luck or talent. But you'll know. It was time, sweat, repetition, and refusal to quit. Truth 7. Because the 99% scroll, watch, escape, but the 1% study, learn, and build. Let's speak a painful truth. Most people are consumers, not creators. They spend 5 hours a day watching other people live their dreams, while doing nothing to build their own. They watch interviews. They watch motivational videos. They watch success stories, and they say, "Wow, that's inspiring." But after that, nothing changes. They scroll for dopamine. They compare. They envy. they waste, and they repeat. The 99% are addicted to watching other people succeed, but allergic to the pain of becoming successful themselves. But the 1%? They are students of success. They don't scroll aimlessly. They study. They don't just listen to advice. They apply it immediately. They don't chase entertainment. They chase elevation. Imagine someone watches a video about how to build discipline. They feel pumped, excited. They comment, fire. Then, they close the video and open Instagram. Back to the loop. Back to nothing. That's the 99%. Now imagine someone else watches the same video. They don't just feel inspired. They act. They take notes. They write their new daily routine. They set their alarm for 5 a.m. the next day. They move. That's the 1%. The difference is never the information. It's the intention behind how you use it. So ask yourself this. Are you watching 100 videos but still stuck in the same place? Are you confusing being informed with being transformed? Are you learning to escape boredom or learning to escape average? Because most people scroll because they're bored. The 1% study because they're hungry. They read books. They rewatch lessons. They write down what they learn. They teach it. They execute it. And they repeat it until it becomes who they are. Your future is not built by what you know. It's built by what you apply every single day. The 99% consume content. The 1% create a new life. It's not about how much you see. It's about how much you become. So from this moment, stop being just a viewer of great things and start becoming the creator of something legendary. Truth 8. Because the 99% waste their life on distractions. But the 1% protect their focus. Like oxygen, let's start with a simple question. Where does your time go? If I gave you a report, a 24-hour analysis of your day, what would it show? How many hours go to scrolling through apps, watching random videos, gossip, comparing your life to someone else's, reading comments on things that don't matter, reacting to the world instead of building your own? The truth is brutal. Most people are not lazy. They are just distracted. And in today's world, distraction is the new form of destruction. Because it doesn't ruin you instantly. It ruins you slowly, quietly, without warning. Until one day you look up and realize you've spent years watching others chase their dreams, while yours rotted in your pocket. Let's say you check your phone just 5 minutes every hour. That's 5 minutes x 18 waking hours. 90 minutes a day. That's 10 hours a week. That's over 500 hours a year. Now ask yourself, what would happen if you gave those 500 hours to building your body, your business, your future, your English, your confidence, your mindset? That's a part-time job. That's a new language. That's a YouTube channel. That's a transformation. But instead, it's gone, burned, swallowed by the black hole of distraction. And you tell yourself, it's just a break. It's just 5 minutes. I'll do it later. But later never comes, because every scroll is a stolen future. 1% know this. They don't just avoid distraction. They attack it. They build rules around their time. They delete apps. They block noise. They schedule their day like it's a blueprint for greatness. Why? Because they know focus is not a gift. It's a discipline. And in the war of success, the most focused person always wins. So how do you become like the 1%? You start by asking yourself 2 life-changing questions. 1. Is this helping me become who I want to be? 2. What is it costing me to keep doing this? If the answer is no, walk away. Because every hour you give to nonsense is an hour stolen from your future family, your legacy, your dream. You're not just wasting time, you're trading your greatness for garbage. And that's not a life. That's a trap. Final truth here. You were not born to be a slave to distraction. You were not born to wake up, check a screen, copy others, scroll, eat, sleep, repeat, and die. You were born to build, to focus, to rise, and to own your hours like your life depends on it. Because it does. Truth 9. Because the 99% quit after failure, but the 1% use it as a fuel. Let's face it. Everyone fails. Everyone falls. Everyone feels pain, fear, and humiliation at some point in their journey. But here's the difference. The 99% take failure personally. The 1% take it as fuel. Most people see failure as proof they're not good enough. They fail once. And they stop. They try something new. And when it doesn't work right away, they say, maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe this isn't my path. Maybe I should just be realistic. So they quit. They run. They shrink. And the dream dies. Not because it wasn't possible, but because they weren't willing to fail enough times to earn it. But the 1%, they expect failure. They study failure. They plan for failure. Because they know failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the tuition you must pay to graduate into success. They don't cry when it hurts. They bleed. They learn. They adjust. They rise. Think of Thomas Edison. He failed over 1,000 times trying to invent the light bulb. Someone asked him, how did it feel to fail 1,000 times? He said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I found 1,000 ways that didn't work. That's the mindset. Every no is one step closer to the yes. Every door that shuts trains you to find the one that opens. Every fall makes you harder to break next time. Now look at your life. How many times have you quit something just because it didn't work fast enough? How many times have you walked away after one bad result? The 1% stay in the fight long enough for the breakthrough to appear. Because they understand. You don't fail when you fall. You fail when you decide not to rise again. Here's the final truth of this one. Most people stop after 3 failures. The average success takes 30 failures. The legendary ones, they've failed 300 times more than the average person ever even tries. So if you're failing, good. That means you're alive. You're in motion. You're in the arena. But don't you dare stop. Don't you dare say, maybe this isn't for me. Because if it was easy, everyone would be living it. You say you want to be in the 1%? Then stop quitting like the 99%. You say you want to win? Then fail harder. Fail faster. Fail with purpose. And when the world thinks you're done, get up again, and again, and again, until the world runs out of ways to stop you. Truth 10. Because the 99% never truly decide. But the 1% make a choice that changes everything. Let's begin with the question that looks simple, but it holds the power to define the entire direction of your life. Have you truly decided who you want to become? Not thought about it, not wished for it, not hoped it happens someday. I'm asking, have you truly, completely, fully decided? Most people never do. They live in a state of almost serious, almost ready, almost committed. They walk through life with one foot in their dream and the other in their excuses. And that is why they never cross the line. Not because they don't have potential. Decisions shape destinies, and indecision destroys them. The 99% never fully commit. They leave the back door open. They say things like, "If it works, I'll keep going. I'll try for a while and see what happens. I'll give it a shot." That's not a decision. That's a soft attempt. And soft attempts don't create hard results. But the 1%? They burn the boats. They erase Plan B. They draw a line in the sand and say, "This is who I will become. And I will not stop until I get there. No matter how long it takes. No matter how many times I fail. No matter how hard it gets. I will not stop. I will not quit. I will not break." That's not a goal. That's not motivation. That is a soul-level decision, a spiritual war cry. And once that decision is made, the universe moves. Your brain changes. Your habits align. Your energy shifts. Your entire life bends toward that decision. Imagine two people both want to transform their body. Person A buys new clothes, follows a few fitness pages, watches transformation videos, even joins a gym. But they say, "Let me just try it for a few weeks." Person B says, "This is no longer about how I look. This is who I choose to become. There is no going back." 3 months later, Person A has disappeared. They got busy, they stopped. But Person B, still showing up, still fighting, still rising. Why? Because the decision was final. There was no more room for excuses, only execution. That's the 1%. You see, most people are addicted to starting, but allergic to deciding. They keep trying things, new habits, new routines, new goals, but nothing sticks. Because deep inside, they are still the same person. And no method will work until the identity changes. Success is not something you try, it's something you become. And that journey begins when you say, "I will no longer live this way." Let me say this as clearly as I can. Your life is waiting for you to finally decide. Not halfway, not when it's easy, not when you feel ready. Now, right now. Because until you make that soul-deep, unshakable decision, nothing will ever change. You'll stay trapped in cycles, starting and stopping, wishing and wondering, talking and waiting. But the moment you decide, everything changes. You wake up differently. You move differently. You speak, think, walk, and fight like someone who has something to prove, to no one else but themselves. That is the path of the 1%. And it is available to you. The moment you stop playing small and choose to rise. Let me speak to the one watching this right now. The one who feels stuck. The one who has dreams buried under doubt. The one who knows, deep down, that they were made for more. But they've been quiet for too long. This is your moment, not tomorrow, not next week. Now. This is the day where you draw the line between the old you and the version of you that was always meant to be born. The weak you versus the warrior you. The dreamer versus the doer. The excuse maker versus the empire builder. The broken version of you versus the rebuilt, ruthless, reborn version of you who will not be stopped. Because now you know the truth. It was never about talent. It was never about luck. It was never about the perfect timing. It was always about one thing. You versus you. And now that you've seen it, now that you've felt it, you can never unknow it again. So choose. Choose discomfort over regret. Choose discipline over moods. Choose growth over approval. Choose commitment over chaos. Choose to become the person the world never saw coming. And if this video, shook something inside you, then don't just walk away quietly. Make a real decision right now. Drop a comment, share this with someone you care about, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel. Because here, we don't play with average. We don't babysit dreams. We build warriors. We turn silence into fire. And we wake up the version of you that no one's ready for. Not even you. Thank you for being here. Now go and become the 1%. Your time has come. And this time, you finish what you started.